Hello, comrades. As you know, writing is my main thing, but I always need more creative outlets. So I am attempting to craft a D&D campaign. I'm sure most of you have heard of D&D. It has this weird reputation. Most of the connections people have in their brains come from Stranger Things, but Stranger Things is a cool show. Didn't portray Dungeons and Dragons well at all. It didn't do it poorly exactly either, but it was just sort of this vague thread that was embedded in this grand story called Stranger Things. D&D, for the most part, is just like a long-winded board game with some like group storytelling and a little like a pinch of theater. Long-winded board games more like, Monopoly is the only one that people really know if they're not board gamers already. The only reason I mention Monopoly is there's like dice rolls that determine things that happen. So I could talk all day long about what D&D the game itself is, but I wanted to share some of the pieces that I'm making because because it's fun, because it's cool. With writing, with books, it's a specific kind of storytelling where you have to have complete thoughts, complete sentences, forming paragraphs, forming pages and chapters, and eventually, hopefully, a full-fledged story. One of the things that I really like about creating my own campaign for D&D is instead of requiring myself to create this continuous plot of hopefully sensible thoughts, I can pop in these pieces like a character with some characteristics, or a magical item, or just a quick setting, whether it's a landscape or a town. And I don't have to flesh out each and every piece to its fullest extent. I can just have these pretty little blips here and there. The most recent focus I've been exerting in creating my D&D campaign is creating what just kind of this random idea calling ancestral items. So in the game, D&D, you have a character. If you've seen or read fantasy stories, there are different kinds of, D&D calls them classes, but you've seen, there are fighters with swords, or mages with magical powers, or rogues with stealing skills, and a number of other professions, basically. In D&D, you pick a class, and you have skills, and you can use equipment based on your class. Usually you start with pretty simple stuff, and as you adventure through this made-up story, you get better equipment or better skills. For some reason, I just had the idea of giving characters at the beginning of an adventure ancestral items, or something that came from, their inherited from their great-grandfather, or something like that just had this bonus flair to it. So here's just a quick glance of some of the random things that I've made. But beyond that, this is all embedded into, I think a great outline for a story. The idea is that the characters are going to start in this town of Shahar, and there are these rumors about some cult wars. And then at the beginning, I have this, I think, really witty plan of how to make the story expansive instead of railroaded. One of the things that often comes up in a D&D campaign is the feeling of being railroaded. What that means is a GM is the game master, the person who's facilitating the story and helping the other players, explore it as well. Railroading is when the campaign itself, because they're written by different authors out there, or the GM, the person who's using a story to facilitate an adventure. Railroading is when it just feels like you're just going along this line, kind of like a book where you have to read the next sentence and there's no way you can change it. What's ideal at least the feeling that's ideal is when players think, oh, I can make choices, I can affect the story, I can change where we're going here. In my campaign that I've called Four Corners, based on the four elements, I had this vision of there being four elemental gods that were warring some millennia ago, and somebody captured them and or put them to sleep or something like that. And now their followers, many, many millennia later, are trying to reawaken them. And the characters in this story, like the players, the other people who will join in this long-winded board game of sorts, are caught in the middle of this story, this war that's beginning to bubble up. Yeah. And so I've been designing pieces. I'll share with some of them with you as I'm chatting, but I've designed some pieces that, like, instead of here's the starting point, here's the next spot, and here's to like connect the dots in a straight line and be bored, I've tried to create this at least four directional, generally speaking, because I want there to be north, south, east, west, each associated with one of the elements. And then, I mean, those will spread out as the characters go, but there's still this, yeah, I think, I'm working on it, the sprawling adventure. That's most of it. I mean, there are so many more details that I could share with you, perhaps bore you, maybe not, I don't know. But the idea, I just wanted to share one more of the things that I'm creating, because I thought it was cool, and you guys are here humoring me with my crazy ramblings, whether it's plain literature or now an upcoming D&D campaign. So I hope you like the little bits and pieces that you've seen. Yeah, feel free to ask if you have any questions about whatever the heck D&D is, or if you know what D&D is, more specific questions about my campaign and the characters. But yeah, again, I hope you enjoyed just seeing one more thing out there that can be created.